Have you ever wondered what it's like to live in a city full of superheroes? To literally see people fly across the sky? Crap.
What are you up to, Angus?
Oh, hey, Sal. I'm trying to record an ad for the podcast.
Heroes don't do paperwork?
Yeah, that one.
Need any help?
Yeah, actually. I'm just trying to tell people about the show, about how you and I work at a newspaper in Super City, and how we interview various citizens, from the people we call neighbors to the city's greatest heroes. But I'm having trouble wording it.
You could just use that section you recorded and put that in.
Huh. Yeah, I suppose I could. Thanks, Sal.
Don't worry about it. I'm off to the office supplies store. It got hit with a shrink ray, so everything is 50% off. Want to come?
You know what? I kind of do. Oh, for those of you hearing this, if you want to hear more about the thrilling adventures and heroics of Super City, come check out Heroes Don't Do Paperwork on the Podcaster Network. All right, let's go.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sam.
I'm Tom.
I'm Brad.
And I'm Laura.
And wiki. This is Disney Homies, or as you might know us as
Disney
Dummies. Is that deep enough for y'all?
Yeah.
Waka waka.
Wiki.
Would I host the rest of the podcast like this?
I mean, I would like to hear it. So
No, I'm too tired already. It takes a lot out of
you
me.
should have, instead of you said wiki, you should have go hayuk.
Oh, missed opportunity.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And why would I do that, Tongue?
Well, it's not my job as host, so you tell
God,
me.
but spoilers, well, listeners at home, if the hyuk wasn't enough to give it away for our final episode of Disney Homies.
What is Disney Homie, Sam? What is that?
Well, yeah, I was just going to tell y'all, if you're here, it's for the last one, go back. We've done a few of these. But Disney Homies is where we've been revisiting not all, definitely not all, a handful of carefully selected straight to DVD home video release Disney movies. So still feature films, but the smaller scale ones. A lot of sequel stuff that went straight to DVD or VHS maybe, depending how old they were.
Home video.
Today's was 1995. Those came out on VHS for sure. So yeah, we've been, picking the ones that we either have fond memories of, or in the case of last week's Cinderella 3, ones we heard were good. So this one kind of was an obvious choice that was no matter what going to be done from the start. It was maybe even one of the reasons we chose to do this at all. After we did all the actual releases, we were like, well, but we still really want to talk about this movie. And so finally we're here, and it feels like a good one to wrap on. And it's a Goofy movie.
Hayuk. I'm trying. How does he do the scream? I can't do the scream very well. You know where he's like falling? Yeah.
That sounded like Mario.
I thought I did pretty good there.
Oh, you didn't come through.
Yeah.
You didn't come through for us.
Oh, it was such a good one.
All right, go again.
Let me
Sam.
try again.
Yeah.
Will it be better if I'm further away from
You
the
could
mic?
try. You could try.
Your mic cannot handle that.
That was pretty good, though.
Better than nothing. We got the gist of it.
It looked great,
I'm
Sam.
quite proud. I can do it better than I thought I did. Sorry, listeners at home. I guess that's some DLC content for you later.
Yeah. Zoom
yeah.
is like, oh, that's copyright infringement. Disney will get on our case for that one.
Exactly. So yeah, this is exciting. I feel like we haven't really done any, especially with all the sequels we've done, like Lion King and Cinderella and Aladdin and this. Not only is this not a sequel, but it's also just we haven't really got to do any. Well, I guess that's not true. In the shorts on the early old episodes of Disney Dummies, Goofy would have made an appearance, but it's not often we get to talk about like Mickey and the gang, like the
Yeah.
squad, you know?
Mhm.
So kind of cool to be able to do a bit of that. So with all that being said, obviously the dummies are excited about this as we've been talking about it. So let's jump right into nostalgia and I'll toss it to Laura.
Literally the only thing I remembered from this movie, I must have only seen it once as a kid, was Leaning Tower of Cheezah.
Oh yeah.
Which turned out to be an incredibly insignificant plot point.
Arguable. Arguable.
I actually missed it this time around.
whole time
I think
I
I
was
was
like,
writing
when
a
is it?
note and then the movie was ending and I was like, is there an after credits shot? And Sam was like, what? No. And I was like, but I missed the Leaning Tower of Cheezah. And she was like, it happened. And I was
It's
like,
really
what?
close to the beginning.
Yeah.
And then they just move
It
on.
is.
Missed it.
Yeah. Tongue.
Oh, you want to go on me next? You want to go to me next?
Do it.
Okay, let me freaking tell you.
Oh,
all.
God.
Let me just say before Tongue starts, he's like, I feel like tonight's podcast might be long.
Whoa.
I did say that. I did
What?
say, I'm gonna try to, keep it tight. It comes to no surprise to many people, but maybe I've not said on this podcast. I fucking adore this movie. I watched this movie so many times back when I was a kid, like just an innumerable amount of times. It was one of those VHSs that my cousin owned. Anytime I was over, we'd watch Mulan, Emperor's New Groove, or this movie. And a goofy movie, I know, like Mulan, like Emperor's New Groove, to the point where like I know such niche freaking references in this like movie. There was one part in one of the songs that I was like humming to Laura, and it's such a nothing lyric, but like, it's the part in
No
the
gym.
first song where it's like, no more gym, no more gym, no more gym, no more gym after today. Anyways,
And I was like, who's Jim?
I honestly, there was a point in my life where I could probably do this entire movie as a play, beat for beat. But now, like, it's been so long since I've actually watched it, but my memories were so fond that I'm like, I think I'm gonna still enjoy this. And as I was watching it, it like flooded back to me. Like I remembered all of the little bits and pieces, all the jokes that were about to happen. I'm like, oh, I know exactly what's gonna happen. And it was. I'll talk about my feelings about it afterwards. But to me, I'm gonna say it. This is an event movie to me.
I said it yesterday. We went to
I was
watch
gonna
the
ask.
movie. We went to watch the movie and I like picked up a bottle of wine. I was like, event movie.
And I believe that in my bones. Not only it's an event movie for so many reasons. Like we can talk about like event movie for like being like one of like the greatest, or we could talk about it, but like to me one of the greatest direct to VHS movies, and also like stand toe to toe with a lot of like Disney's regular theatrical releases. Like I treat this movie as good as your golden age Disney movies. Like that's how much I love this film. Or I guess I don't know yet.
I don't know.
We don't know yet.
Wait.
Sounds like you hate it, Tom.
But also an event movie in the way that, like, listeners at home, we watched a lot of movies for this show. I was going to save this for the end, and I won't get too into the weeds for this now, but, like, this is the last time the Disney movies are watching a movie for this podcast.
The Disney dummies?
The Disney dummies.
Yeah.
For a little while. So it's kind of like, it's an event movie in many ways. Let's
Yeah.
And
say.
you know what? Listeners at home, I don't know if you knew this, but Tongue and Laura are going to be new parents soon. So
Oh.
this feels like an. Do they not know this? Can you cut that bit?
No. I was pretending to be surprised, but I did.
Oh,
I did in fact know
I
that.
see. I was
feel
like,
we've talked about it many times already, but yeah.
Anyways, it feels like a good movie to end on when it's about a child-parent relationship.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
I agree.
feels fitting.
Yes.
Oh, event movie. Also, of these homies we've done, this was the first time Brad and I went to our downstairs, bigger, nicer TV for it.
Oh, that's how you know. That's how
Yeah.
you know.
Wow, you guys been using your trash TV this
Yeah.
entire time.
There was like
Yeah.
no discussion really about it. It was
I'm pretty
just like, are we
sure-
watching it up here? And I was like, nah.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
we watched all of ours on our trash TV.
We had to, because Disney Plus wouldn't work on anything else.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Bradley.
Yeah, I don't think it doesn't sound like I watched it as much as Tongue, but I do have very fond memories of this movie. I remember loving this movie. I feel like I was pretty shocked when we were going through, or I guess you were all going through the Disney movies, because I don't feel like I ever realized that it wasn't a feature film. I think growing up, I thought it was like just a movie. Although to be fair, I think I thought like Aladdin 2 and 3 were also
Oh,
like
Brad.
just movies. I know.
I mean, I think we all did. No, like I did.
But yeah, so I really like it. I agree with Tung. I feel like, or and Laura. The main thing I remember is Leaning Tower of Cheezah, which I also agree. I thought that character also had a bigger role in the movie than he ended up having. But anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about my feelings on it, and my nostalgia,
Nostalgia.
on it is nostalgic in a good way. I was very much looking forward to this one. I do agree that I think this was the main reason that I was excited. It's good we left it to the end because I feel like it would have been
Yeah.
not great to start, and then all the other ones are just like, oh, not as good.
Yeah. And when I think of like 90s nostalgia and how that's like kind of its own corporation these days, it feels like, I feel like this fits right in there with like
Yeah.
the internet trying to push this movie on me specifically lately. But also, it's the 30th anniversary of this movie this year. So it's like a
Oh,
big,
it's a big
it's
deal.
kind of, yeah, it is a big deal right now. So I was like, oh, it's kind of cool that we're doing this for the 30-year anniversary.
timing.
We
Tongue.
totally planned that.
Yeah, totally.
Everything we do is intentional and fact checked.
Exactly. Not a happy accident. But anyways, my own nostalgia is honestly, I may have only seen this like once. I think I feel like I liked it, but I don't really remember much. But it is one of those movies that became so, again, like kind of popular, like cult classic almost, that like I know a lot about it, like Powerline and like, so it's like, do I remember it or do I just know like pop culture talking about it? Like I don't know which, because my only actual memory of watching this, and it kind of came back to me a little bit last night, but I tell this story often. It was like I was watching it at home one time in my basement when I was a kid or young, and it was the first time my parents ever left me home alone by myself because they were going out, they were just going to run a quick errand, they were like going to the store to get something, I don't know what it was, but they were like wanted me to come, but this movie must have been on TV, so I was like, no, like I need to stay and finish the movie because I was like far into it. And they were like, okay, you can stay and watch this. And as soon as they left, I feel like there was only like 5 minutes of the movie left or something. It like ended super quick, and then I was really scared because I was home alone. And it was dark and scary, and then my Furby started talking to itself from a closet, and then
Oh, that's
was-
scary.
Freaking
dude, it was a
Furbies.
whole scary night, and I think I ended up like going and sitting on my front lawn because I didn't want to be in the house. And my parents got home, I was just like sitting out in the snow. I don't know. Anyways, so Goofy movie got me to stay home and then be scared. But
Now that's
yeah.
nostalgia.
That's nostalgia. Truly. Furbies, Goofy movie, being a kid home alone. All the good things. So, Tongue, without further a goof,
Thank you.
why don't you take us away?
All right, everyone. I'm going to do my best. As I was writing this, I'm like, I can do our old classic summary of this show where we make it as long as possible. And I wrote as much to do that. But I'm going to do my best still to condense it because respect everyone's time. But also, like, I want to indulge in this at the same time. So, like, allow me to regale the story of a Goofy movie. We open with a girl calling for Max, which we will know that that person is Roxanne. Woo, 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 woo. Roxanne's the love interest in this movie, and I believe it showed up, or she showed up in top 5 cartoon crushes. She certainly was one of mine. We could talk about the drawings in this an animation angle later for a Goofy movie, but some characters are quite sexy, I would say.
Also, I have to say,
Immediately in the opening, I was like, whoa, this movie is sexy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Also, Roxanne, her name sounds like and she looks like a pop star. So I sort of assumed her character was like this unachievable pop star girl.
The point is, Roxanne fucks. And, you know,
Yes.
she's got it. She has that girl next door vibe. She's a little shy, but man, she's got it. In this dream sequence over here, she's like blowing kisses over to Max, who is Goofy's son. He's one of the protagonists of this movie. And as this like really dreamy sequence is going on, where Max is like dreaming about the girl he really likes, he starts to get goofified. It becomes a little bit of a horror movie where his hands start growing. It's almost like in Space Jam when the Monstars become the Monstars. They become like little to like big. It's exactly that. And except for like instead of becoming like a giant monster, Max turns into a giant Goofy, where he's actually saying "oh yuck," and then like has the teeth and the nose and it's and the feet. It's really fun. But then he wakes up and he's like, "Oh my god, it's just a dream. Oh no, I'm gonna be late. I have something planned at school. My pal PJ is calling me saying you have to come now, otherwise we can't pull it off." What is it going to be? You'll find out. But then Goofy comes into the room, or Max's room, and I love Goofy in this movie, by the way. Like, Goofy himself, I think, also fucks in his own way. Like, he's just such a... In this movie, he's so much more full of a character than he is in, like, a lot of the Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck trio things that we see in, like, shorts and whatever. Like, this is his movie. And like I find like his character really shines well in it.
It's his Aladdin too.
He is a good dad. He tries.
Yeah.
And he's like honestly really goofy about it, which is what you want. He's like vacuuming Max's room and wearing like a towel. Like it's good stuff. Anyways, so Max is in his like, you know, angst era. I think he's like probably junior high school, kind of maybe high school. I'm not sure. Around then, and he's really sassy in this movie. We're gonna get a lot of that from Max, and we get a song about that actually. Kind of like Max walking to school, being like, "Life's not fair. I want to get the girl. I'm yearning for Roxanne, but good thing summer is about to happen." After today, which is the name of the song.
Good song.
I feel like that's like the whole setting of this movie being like right at the beginning of summer or like the day before is also like super nostalgic, like adds to that nostalgia because like we don't have that day anymore and it is an exciting time. It's like very specific like point in your life where you're like, ooh, summer is like a week away and what is everyone gonna be doing? And
man, I loved summers.
Oh yeah. And singing about summer where everyone breaks out into a musical number. And I'm gonna say it right now. I find all of the music in a Goofy movie very good.
Yeah,
Like-
it is actually very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Banger after banger. Yeah, this song's really good. It rises and falls, and it's really good. Anyway, so after the song is over, Max makes it to school, and he runs into Roxanne. There's a little bit of a cute moment where he's like, "Oh my god, it's Roxanne!" And they're both like kind of shy next to each other. But Max, I think he lets out a yuck, and then like he runs away. He's really ashamed of his Goofy lineage. Like he doesn't want to be a goof at all, but you know, he's going to try to find his own way to impress the ladies. When I say ladies, it's really just Roxanne.
Just the one.
Yeah. And then we meet Peach or PJ, who is Pete's son. And we also meet Bobby, who I don't know if I've seen Bobby in any other Disney thing before, but he's the guy who's like surfer dude. He's kind of stoner vibes. He's also really good at tech and he loves Cheezah.
You have seen him in other things. Something that came out after this. He played Hermes in Hercules. Basically the same.
Yeah, a little bit.
The exact same character.
I love his like cheddar, yeah, and then just like spraying cheese into his mouth. And I'm gonna sound the alarm for pretty much everyone in this movie. So I think Bobby fucks.
All right.
And you know, PJ, he's a good friend. I'm not sure if he fucks, but like Bobby, he's a cool guy. I think he's a cool guy. We cut to an assembly where everyone's excited for summer about to happen. And Principal Mazer, he's like your just kind of stuck up principal coming out and being like, well, you know what you could do over the summer holiday? Study. That kind of stuff. And as he's doing his like really boring speech, they hit the lights and then boom, a show starts to happen. And it is so impressive how these three kids pull off.
I'm wheeling the prank. I don't know.
It's incredible. So basically, Max, PJ, and Bobby set it up so Max is dressed in a Powerline outfit. Powerline is like a very famous Michael Jackson-esque character.
The biggest rock star in the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he is cool as hell, Powerline. So Max's whole thing, and it's a big part of his personality right now, is to dress up as Powerline, not tell anybody who he is, and so that he can basically sing or lip sync to Roxanne. And honestly, he's pulling it off in this music number. He's killing it. Like, things are going wrong. At first, it was like a giant screen behind him, and then he falls out of the screen. Everyone's looking at real life Max, and he's like, "Don't worry, I got this." And at some point, he's on like a rope pulley system and flying through the gym. It's cool as hell.
It's very cool.
Failing upwards.
Very, very cool.
And that song's really good too. Stand out above the crowd.
Stand out above the crowd, even if I got
Anyways, I'll sing, everyone. Don't worry.
Please,
I'll handle
yeah.
it.
Yeah, you got this.
I'll handle it. If you know the words, people at home or this group, sing along with me. It's fun. Anyways, I wrote Max fucks in this moment, but only for this moment. Like right now, he's like, whoa, he is cool. The prank eventually goes poorly, and Principal Mazer stops the whole thing. Little party pooper moment.
Buzzkill.
Exactly. But then we cut to Goofy, whose job is very cute. Goofy's full-time job is basically being a photographer for kids at like
Walmart.
Walmart,
Basically.
Target, something like that.
yeah, and I think that's really fun. There's like a good kid bit with Goofy and the kids and parents love Goofy. Pete, who we've seen in other Disney properties before, he's usually played as like Goofy's rival, I think, a lot of the times.
He's always a villain,
right?
99%. Yeah, he's like Death in the Christmas Carol version, or sorry, Ghost of Future. Ghost of Future.
Ghost of Christmas Future.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there it
you
is.
go.
We got there. And in Steamboat Willie, like in all the oldies, he's like the big bad. And in all the video games,
He's a big bad. Exactly. I remember the Goofy video game, actually. There's one for the Super Nintendo, I'm pretty sure. Anyways, doesn't matter. In this, he's more of like a subtle villain. He's not like full on like
he's just kind of an asshole.
kind of an asshole,
He's not a
He's like a hard ass boss too.
but I say a little bit of villain because he like plants a lot of like bad advice into Goofy, you know?
Yeah, coming from like probably like a place, you know,
Yeah,
where it's
yeah.
like his own bad parenting
Totally.
that he's deflecting and
Yeah. So we meet Pete and we see Pete's like style of handling the photography business, I guess, because I assume that he's Goofy's boss. And then Pete's basically talking like, hey, I'm getting together with my son. We're going to go camping. Maybe you should try that sometime to get close with your kid. Oh, well, you want to get closer with your kid. Otherwise, he's going to become a delinquent. And Goofy's like, my son, he never gets in trouble. That'll never happen. And then that's when we cut to like back to the principal's office with Max and Bobby. And that's when Bobby does the Leaning Tower of Cheezah.
Yeah.
That's when it happens.
You said it wrong.
Leaning Tower of Cheezah.
There we go.
And then we get like another like cute moment where Roxanne is asking Max to the party. Max is asking Roxanne to the party. They both want to go to this party together that I think Roxanne's best friend, Sally.
Class president.
looks like a Susie.
It doesn't matter. It's her best friend. And they want to go to this party together because you know what's happening at this party? They're all going to watch Powerline together. How freaking cool
Pretty
is
cool.
that?
She invites the entire school.
I know. It's pretty wild.
You know what? I went to a
Imagine.
party like this when the Tragically Hip had their last concert, and it was pretty dope.
Was it dope? Okay. I
Nice.
bet this is like definitely like kids would come over and there's no drinking, just like snacks.
You know, kids are doing this once the Eras tour was on Disney Plus. So
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, true.
Do you think they're in high school?
That's what I was thinking.
I
like,
think-
they might be freshmen.
Yeah, like I think they're like grade 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
like the school that they're in feels very high school. And some of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there was like one character with giant cleavage who was hitting on Max
Oh, yeah.
afterwards. And you're like,
There were
she's
some
probably
fully
not
developed
from junior high.
characters.
Yeah, some of them looked older.
Yeah. Anyway, so like Max successfully asks Roxanne to the party. They're both stoked and really shy about it, but they're both stoked. And then like, Max is doing like the mambo with the secretary. It's really cute. And then Principal Mazer calls Goofy to be like, your son's a bad kid. He's a bad apple. And you know what? If he doesn't get his shit together, he's going to get the electric chair.
So intense.
A little bit much. A little bit much from the
A
principal.
little much.
This is the movie which taught me what the electric chair was. And now like Goofy's like, I don't want my kid to get on the electric chair. Like I gotta take my kid fishing. I gotta take him camping. So at this point, that's Goofy's idea. Max, he gets let out of the principal's office, and he could not be any cooler in this moment. After that stunt he pulled in the gymnasium, everybody's like asking him like, how are you so cool? Like that one girl who's definitely like, probably a senior who has the
She's
giant
hitting
breasts.
him.
She's like, oh,
Yeah,
Max.
tons of cleavage.
Yeah, tons of cleavage. And everyone's cheering for him. Even like PJ starts like a Max, 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 Max chant. And then like the entire walk home, Max is like, guess what? I'm Powerline again. He puts on his sunglasses and dances all the way home. And after he does that, he gets home. He's not felt any more confident in his life. Goofy's like, let's go fishing. And this ruins this kid's day. He's just like, I can't go fishing. My life is so good right now. And, after some back and forth and Goofy like trying to trick him, playing the guilt card, or just like strapping him in, Max is forced to go on this father-son fishing trip together.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Road trip.
Little road trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to miss his party.
Such an important party, which is why Max is like, okay, I'll freaking go with you. I don't want to, but I'll freaking go with you as long as I get to talk to Roxanne, which I think is a funny scene coming up because Max comes to Roxanne basically trying to tell her, first of all, her dad answers, who's like this big gruff guy who's just like can't speak.
He's like a bulldog.
Bulldog, so tough looking, doesn't speak, but very sweet to his daughter. But anyways, Roxanne and Max are talking. And Max is like, oh, yeah, about the party. And she's like, I'm so excited for the party. He's like, yeah, about the party. My dad, like, we're supposed to go on this trip together. And she's like, oh, I see. Well, I guess I'll find someone else. And he's like, oh, you know what? Actually,
So harsh.
so harsh. And then he's just like,
Heartbreak.
he's just like, actually, we're not going on just any trip. We're going to go actually see Powerline together. And I'm going to be actually at the final performance, at the final song, and I'm going to be on stage with Powerline because my dad knows him. It's like a huge lie.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
so many
Which-
unnecessary levels.
And it's funny because she was already impressed that he was
Yeah.
just going to the concert in general. And then he decides to up it to like, oh yeah, my dad knows Powerline. I'm going to be in the concert.
It's hilarious. I'm like, how are they, especially not remembering how this movie plays out, I'm like, how are they gonna pull this?
And they do, baby. They do. But also, so this is why this scene's funny to me, like years later and watching it, I'm like, oh my God, like your excuse that your dad's making you go on a father-son trip together, I think is a pretty legitimate
Yeah.
excuse. And then Roxanne's just like, oh, well, that's a shitty excuse. I don't really want to hang out with you anymore. And then he's just like, but actually, I'm going to see Powerline instead. And she's like, Powerline? All right, you go
Now
on
we're
your
talking.
now you can go on your trip. What?
Truly hilarious.
She can wait to get rid of him after she heard he's going to Powerline. Like, it's that big of a deal. Like, of course. Don't ask me out anymore. Go with your dad. So the road trip starts. Max is still really like angry at his dad. His dad's trying to play 20 questions with him. He has like a sheet that has like a bunch of games on it. And I should say this map and this whole road trip that they're going on, pretty important part is that it's Goofy's dad's map. It's been passed down from goof to goof to goof to goof, like this fishing rod that he gave Max, as well as this map, which is kind of like just like a big road trip of all these stops you can go to. And it's going to be a really fun time because Goofy's going to take Max on all of the stops, the exact same route, everything, so he can relive this road trip like Goofy did. So anyways, this is happening. They're on the road trip. Max is really like bitter. They're like switching out the music together. Max is like playing like guitar to the radio. Goofy has like the most dad lame song. High hopes. He's got high hopes.
Pie in the
Sky hopes. Yeah. And they bust the cassette player, which is not good. But then we get another song happening. There's a little bit of like sound effects from the road, from the city that starts off the song. And it's called, I think it's called The Open Road, On the Open Road.
Grab a friend and take a ride together up on the open road.
Yeah,
on the open road. Yeah.
On the open road. And we see like Mickey and Donald make a cameo in this one too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I would say out of all the songs is probably the one that isn't the strongest of the bunch, but like I still like it as like a nice song to like road trip to, you know?
It's the kind of song that parents love.
Sure, yeah. So the next part of this is after that wonderful song, they end up at this possum this like country bear jamboree like place from Disney World, which I don't remember the name of the place, but their whole deal is they do possums. There's a country bear jamboree like possum music thing that they do. A bunch of like what would you call that?
Possum posse jamboree.
Animatronic possums.
Yeah. And the audience is exactly the type of audience you see at Disney World where they're like, oh my God, it's this possum. And everyone's cheering, even though it's the exact same thing every single time. It's
losing their minds. Like the possums are celebrities.
Now gather around, my possum pals. Join the jamboree. Come hoot and howl.
I have to take a quick trip down memory lane to last time Tung and I went to Country Bear Jamboree, where there were two other groups in the theater with us. It was a couple. And one of them knew every word to every song and like lost her mind when this one bear came out. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And the other group was a family with 11 or 12 children. They kept moving, so I couldn't count them all. And all of them, from like the 3-year-old to like the 15-year-old, because there wasn't much age between any of the kids. It was like they were all in a row. Every single one of them had a mullet. And they were just there having the time of their lives. And I was like, wow, this is America.
Would you go see a possum version of that?
No, I like bears more than possums.
Yeah, fair enough. This whole place is just possums everywhere. You can get like a possum hat. There's like a bunch of stands. There is like a giant possum who tries to hug Max. It's
the mascot.
The Simpsons type of situation where like a mascot tries to hug Bart, but in this case, a possum tries to hug Max, and Max like slaps him. It's like, it's pretty funny. And like Max is having a terrible time. Goofy's having the time of his life. He loves this possum place. And then there's like a interesting thing that I didn't pick up until like I was older, which is like, it's interesting seeing how Goofy is perceiving the situation and how Max is perceiving the situation. Because in this situation, Goofy's just dancing along and having the time of his life. There's a possum that gets into Max's like shirt, and then Max is like unintentionally dancing. And then Goofy takes his son and starts dancing with him, and everyone's cheering along. And Goofy's taking it as like, this is so fun. Look at this. And Max could not be more embarrassed in his life.
Yeah.
And
mortified.
Exactly.
It felt so real.
Yeah. And when I was a kid, I totally just felt Max's position. But when I was watching Goofy go through it, I'm like, you know what? Like, I could see how Goofy would perceive this as a fun thing right now. Everyone else is having a good time. Some people are making fun of them, but like, I don't know. Got a lot of laughs. He didn't care. He's just living his life. So after Max kind of blows up at Goofy, being like, Dad, you're so uncool. You're embarrassing me. I hate this trip. Blah, 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 blah.
I mean, Max did try to hitchhike away in the rain.
Yeah.
Like out of nowhere. I was like, God damn, kid.
Yeah.
And then they throw the possum on the ground and Goofy backs up over it.
Oh,
That shot is insane. I
And they
was
drive
like,
away.
oh.
It's like
Was
a
it
roadkill
a hat
possum
or an
hat.
actual?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, it's
okay.
a hat.
There's another shot later that I'll bring up that's just like, oh, yeah, okay, Goofy movie. I'm listening. But yeah,
There's
when
a
they
lot of good
run
shots.
over the possum hat or whatever, it's like, wow, what a, oof, that's rough.
I was
Vicious.
sad. Yeah.
Goofy's trying to teach his son how to fish, but Max is not having it for now. So Goofy's like, fine, I'll just like go back to my tent. And then boom, the coolest RV that has ever been invented in the world. Wee-oo, 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 shows up, and it's Pete's RV. This RV, let me tell you, it fucks. Like, it does. It has a bowling alley. It has a basketball court. It has a pool. It is the most glampy styled RV. It's huge home speaker system inside the RV. It's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's
You
like
know what?
the Mary
I was gonna-
Poppins bag of RVs.
Yeah.
I feel like I had such an opposite reaction to this RV than all of you. Because earlier when we were talking about Pete being the villain, I was like, okay, well, I'll save it for when we get there. But this RV is like the epitome of this type of guy. I'm like, okay, the guy
Oh,
with the
yeah.
blingiest
That's funny,
RV.
yeah.
Like,
I mean,
It's supposed to be,
absolutely.
but still.
yeah, it's like so over the top and just like egregious. I was like, okay, like it is cool. Like it does have everything. I was like, yeah, I'd fuck with that RV. But Pete having it is just like, yeah, he would have that
Yeah.
RV.
But that's not the RV's fault. That's not the RV's fault.
I guess. But the fact that it tells me who he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like the Cybertruck equivalent.
Yeah, it's the fucking Cybertruck of RVs.
Less
This-
political.
RV is way cooler than the Cybertruck. It's like,
Yeah,
It's
you can
actually
see the-
practical.
You can see the appeal of the RV.
yeah, it could probably withstand a winter.
yeah, it is confusing how it fits all of that inside of itself.
I like when the pool pops out and the water comes out with it. Like, splashes around.
But yeah, like Pete is there, which means PJ is there, one of Max's good pals. And PJ's rocking out to Powerline as well, and they're talking. Max is just happy to see a familiar face and one of his best friends. And PJ's like, "Hey man, I heard what you're doing. You can go see Powerline. That's pretty cool." And Max is like, "Yeah, the only person who doesn't know that is my dad." So it's like, oh, the drama continues. We cut to Pete and Goofy playing bowling and stuff like that, or really Pete's bowling. And Pete's like laying down fatherly advice, which is like, you know, the best way to parent your child is to put them under your thumb and control them. And Goofy's like, I don't know about that. But Pete's like, you know, he's not going to listen unless you do that thumb thing. So Max is like, "Hey, can we stay for dinner, Dad?" And Goofy's like, "Yeah, I'm going to try this, putting him under my thumb." "No, Max, we're going fishing, and I mean now." And Max is like mad about it. So then we cut to Goofy showing Max how to fish, and the perfect cast.
The perfect
Oh
cast.
my gosh.
The perfect cast fucks. People are at home are like, "Tongue, you're just throwing away fucks." I am not. That's
There's
how
a high fuck count.
There's a
right
high
now.
fuck count in this movie, and the perfect cast. Fuck, Sam's shaking her head. You don't think so?
No, I don't really remember the cast, to be honest.
What?
Whoa.
It plays such an important role. It's what the whole movie's about.
There's like 4 or 5 times they do the perfect cast. It comes around beautifully. What?
Sam.
The dance.
The dance. Anyways, the perfect cast is just like a series of ridiculous moves that Goofy does before he like sends out the fishing line, and it's a perfect cast every single time. So perfect that this time it lured Bigfoot.
Guys, I just Googled the perfect cast and was shocked that it's Goofy movie that comes up. That's literally-
Why would you be shocked about that? There's only one
I
perfect
don't
cast.
know. You'd think if I wrote the perfect cast, I'd get a bunch, but no, it's straight to Goofy.
You might get like a Goofy podcast. Oh, that's
Yeah,
a
I
good
don't
name
know.
for a Goofy podcast.
That is.
Oh man. So they lure Bigfoot, which is the part of the movie. That's when I like everything clicked for me again, because I forgot Bigfoot was even in this movie.
Yeah.
As soon as he showed up, I'm like, oh my God, we're in for a treat. Because Bigfoot is just a hilarious character in this movie. He doesn't talk, but he's just really silly. He like, you know, he's big. He's Bigfoot.
so silly.
He's the legendary Bigfoot, but also he's chasing Max and Goofy back to their car. Oh, he got them to go inside their car. Guess what?
Sock puppets.
Bigfoot's gonna do sock puppets. He's gonna like put underwear on his head. He's gonna have like a disc Walkman on his ears and like dance and groove out. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's great.
It's goofy.
It's pure silliness. Or
It is very goofy.
goofiness.
Big goofiness, and yeah, maybe he fucks too. I don't know. Pew, pew.
That's where I thought you were going with all this.
I mean, I could see it. The part where he's dancing behind the car and like doing like, I don't know, what do you call this move?
Staying alive.
Staying alive disco move. Me and my cousins did that all the time to each other. Just out of nowhere started doing that dance because of a Goofy movie. And yeah, brought back some good memories. So while this is happening, Max and Goofy are trying to apologize to one another. They're like, you know, things are getting really tense between us. Like, we blew up at each other a few times already throughout the course of this movie. I feel bad for what's happening right now. Hey, do you remember Hi Dad Soup? And then they start talking about Hi Dad Soup and like how there's a soup can just out of reach of Goofy on the car because Bigfoot was like throwing a bunch of stuff around. And Goofy was able to grab that soup. And then they start talking about Hi Dad Soup, which is basically Max, when he was young, was spelling out hi dad or a bunch of cute words or sayings to his dad when he was a kid with like alphagetties, basically, right? And it's a cute moment, and like Max like just trying to fall asleep, and before he falls asleep, he hands his dad the cup, and at the bottom of the cup it says "Hi Dad." And I said, Sam's crying.
You all
here?
right? You all right, Sam? Oh, boy.
I wrote down that you cried at this moment.
Predictable.
Everyone saw it coming. Listeners, did you see this one coming?
You should have.
It's a very tender moment, and I really enjoyed
it's
it.
very sweet.
But then it cuts to like some more like kind of like silly stuff where it's like Bigfoot and Goofy are snoring very, very loudly, which I think is really funny.
Yeah.
And Max can't sleep, so he like accidentally hits the glove compartment, and this map just magically rolls out perfectly in front of him, including
As
a
they
pencil. Yeah, the pencil rolls out perfectly, and it's just like, hey, you want to change the map? And Max is like, yeah, I want to change the map. I want to go to this Powerline concert.
Well, because he was writing a postcard to Roxanne, right?
Yeah.
And telling her the truth about how he lied and everything. And then I forget how he ends up hitting the glove box, but yeah, it opens
Well, it's
up.
because he wrote two different versions of it, and he's like, both of these versions, I'm going to get in trouble no matter what. There's not a good outcome of this. And then that's when he hits the glove compartment. I should say up to this moment, Max has asked his dad to like navigate, but Goofy's like, no. Navigating's the father's job or whatever it is. So that's why Max is like, I'm going to just change this. So my dad's going to go in this way, which is like not, I feel like any good navigator would notice it's going to the wrong place.
No.
Yeah.
Goofy's just looking at what's next. He's not looking at the destination. He's looking at the
Especially
journey.
when like, I mean, not to get too far ahead, but there's literally a fork in the road moment where I'm like,
I know.
you know the correct way.
I know.
But that's the point in the moment that he does know the correct
Yeah.
way.
It's Idaho or California. That's where they're trying to go.
The
But like
classic
Max,
division.
yes, Goofy knows, but Max should know Goofy. Like,
yeah.
There's a beautiful piece of cinematography here, is as good as the possum being run over, which is Max rips up the piece of paper and throws it outside the car into the wind, and it gets caught by a tree, and all you see is, I lied.
Yeah, he did.
Just caught in the tree, flapping
He
away.
lied again and again.
Cinema.
Straight out of the Scorsese playbook.
Totally. It's like, I'm shocked. The Goofy movie has some things like this, and I'm like, wow, I'm impressed. They went for it. We cut to the next day. They're at a diner. Goofy dubs Max the navigator. So guess what? He trusts his son now to be the navigator. After the whole high soup thing, it's like, I trust my son. I'm gonna, just put a little bit more faith in this guy. And then we see a montage of father-son bonding. It's actually really cute, of like Max taking his dad to all the things that he wants to, like Max wants to go to, like an amusement park, a monster truck rally. And I really love this. Max sees his dad like not having fun at like this monster truck thing. So he's like, I'm going to take my dad somewhere cool, which is a house of yarn. It's really
And he's so excited.
Goofy goes nuts for it.
That's so good.
I
'cause
love that.
Goofy's he's so square about everything. He's like, yarn, this is amazing. And then like there's another fun thing where like Goofy just being so able to connect with so many different characters throughout this world. There's like a Goofy mime off that happens. Like Goofy mimes with like a mime, and it's, I don't know, it's just really fun. It's like a little face off that they do. But it ends in a really funny gag where like a piano falls on the mic.
Yeah, he pretends to cut a rope or something,
Yeah,
and then a piano falls on.
And somehow the rope was holding up a piano. Like the
It's
physics
pretty
doesn't make
goofy.
sense.
It's pretty goofy, and I will also say it's really Looney Tunes to have like
Yeah,
a full
true.
piano fall on someone, and everyone's like, "Oh well."
Yeah, on with our road trip.
Yeah. Speeding along here, they end up at a motel, which is like water themed. There's like fun water beds that are happening
yeah.
with fish
There's
inside.
fish in those beds.
Yeah.
And they run
That's
into
so weird.
Pete again. Pete's back with his RV. So like when PJ and Max are just hanging out in the motel room, Pete overhears that like Max saying like, "Oh, I changed the map." And Pete's like, hey, I know something you don't know, Goofy. And now he's like, you can tell like Pete's just jealous of Goofy's relationship with his son and doesn't like that type of parenting style. So when Goofy's like, "Hey man, I tried your parenting style, and turns out by like trying to like,
Sucks.
yeah, it sucks. Putting them under my thumb, like that's bad advice. Like me and my son don't jive like that. Like every time I did that, he got pushed further away. I'm trying this new method now." And then Pete's like, "Well, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but your son just betrayed you." And
Oh, he's the worst.
he's so bad. And this is when you feel very bad for Goofy because he's like, "No, he would never." And then Goofy ends up back in the car and he's about to check the map. And he's like, "No, I trust my son. Of course I'm not going to check the map. I just trust him wholeheartedly." Bangs on the glove compartment. And then the map comes out again. And that's when you see like a defeated Goofy. And it's sad stuff.
Brutal.
This is the part that Sam was talking about. So, like, now it's the next day. Goofy knows that Max has been lying to him. Max is like trying to play games with his dad. Now all the guilt is rising up in him. And he's just like, "Hey, Dad, how about 20 questions? No, you're not connecting with this? Whatever. Dad, talk to me." And then Goofy's like, "Well, actually, we're going to hit a junction ahead of us. We need to make a split-second decision on where to go, Idaho or California."
A literal fork in the road.
Extremely clear answer where to go.
Yeah.
And, it's happening. They're getting closer. Goofy's like, Max, what are you going to choose?" And Max chooses wrong.
Brutal. But he struggled to get to that answer.
Yeah.
He was conflicted.
But as soon as that happens, Goofy, it's so interesting seeing Goofy go from like such a bubbly character to like mad. And when you disappoint a character like Goofy, you feel pretty bad, I think. Just like, oh, like it's not easy to make Goofy mad, So that happens. And now Goofy's mad. He gets out of the car and he's just like huffing and puffing. And they're yelling at each other again. And, Max like leans up against the car and now the car is rolling down this canyon. And now we get a huge action sequence in this movie. And like they're skateboarding down after their car, which I should say this car was like full of a bunch of shit. Like
Yeah.
it's like a classic cartoonish, even Simpson-y type of joke where it's just like basically every single belonging that they have is on top of their car.
Yeah.
Taller.
And every once in a while they drive under like a bridge or something and knock some of it off.
Yeah, exactly. So they're chasing after this car. They somehow get back inside, and now they're falling. They fall off a cliff, and as they're like banging up against rocks and all this stuff, they're still arguing with each other. They're like, "Well, you ruined my life, Dad. No, you ruined my life. This is supposed to be a father-son trip." And like, yeah, they're in like mortal danger, but it doesn't matter. And they end up in water. And we know what happens when you end up in water, like a stream of water in like a Disney movie. Eventually it's to become a waterfall. But we're not quite there yet because first there's like a reconciliation part of this movie. So they're on top of the car together and they're just trying to connect. And there's like a really a good line here. Yeah, here, I wrote it down because I thought it was really good. Where Max goes, "Well, I got my own life, Dad." And Goofy goes, "I know that. I just want to be part of it. No matter how old you are, you'll always be my son." And I'm like, oh, I felt it too, Sam.
I cried here too. I was like, as we started this cast, I was like, I know I cried at 2 points in the movie, but I don't really remember where they are. And then as soon as you got to both, I was like, oh no.
It's a beautiful moment. And as soon as
Yeah.
that happens, it's just like, oh, Max understands his dad a little bit more. It's just like, oh, yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to share a little bit with you through song.
Oh, yeah.
This song's called
The best way.
Yeah. This song's
only way.
called Nobody Else But You.
Nobody else but you. It's just our love.
Nobody else but you. Thank you, Brad. Finally.
It's a good one. I really like this one.
I don't remember any of
It's a
these.
good little duet.
Yeah, it's cute. They're just humming along and they're getting along, you know?
Just floating down the river. I did comment this to Sam because I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna work this into the cast, but I was like laughing at like how they got so cool about floating down this river on a car, like really quickly. They were like freaking out. They were
Very
almost
chill.
drowning. And then like almost immediately they're just like on the roof of a car floating down a river and they're just like, we're just gonna like sing now.
You know,
Yeah.
Brad, because you know what's more scary? A severed relationship between a father and a son. And yeah, they sing this song and it's beautiful. It's wonderful. Now they're friends again. They're feeling more chummy. Max tells his dad he's in love. Goofy's like, "Oh, my son's in love. I can't believe how fast they grow up." That kind of stuff. And then he's just like, "Well, there's only one thing we gotta do then. We gotta get you to Powerline."
Yep.
Which I'm like, yeah, Goofy,
I love that.
exactly,
Goofy's on it.
exactly.
Pete could never.
Yeah. And then as he's saying that, it's like, oh no, remember the stream of water equals waterfall. Waterfall starts to happen.
Okay, but wait.
Yeah.
I just need the audience to know that they are at the bottom of a canyon. When they started floating, I was like, it might end in a waterfall, but there's no way it can end in a waterfall because they're at the bottom of a canyon.
They weren't at the bottom of
They
them.
were at the bottom of a canyon. How does
was
it
a
end
high
in a
canyon.
waterfall?
It was a big
Yeah,
canyon.
No, that
They
doesn't
were
make
they were up on a mountain
Oh.
and then it was like a mountain canyon.
it
and
doesn't
now
make
they're-
any sense.
It makes sense. Brad and I understand.
I get it.
And then yeah, classic like waterfall type of situation. It gets pretty intense trying to save each other. And then like Goofy like frantically trying to save his son with the fishing rod. And then like they get tangled and then Max ends up in like a parachute situation where he's floating, but his dad is now falling down the waterfall.
boy.
Guess what's gonna save him?
Sam, guess.
Um.
The
The perfect cast.
yeah, there you go.
Oh,
What? This surprises me, Sam, that you missed this huge plot point in the movie. It's like the full circle
Did
moment.
I missed it completely?
It's the full circle moment of the perfect cast. It's
I know.
beautiful.
I know.
it's the whole point of the trip.
Yeah, like his son learns to do the Goofy move that will end up saving his father, and his father's being like hung by his underwear, and he's being spun around, and the thing that he says to his son is the perfect chaos.
It's pretty good.
I,
pretty
you know,
good
he
goofy.
says a lot of goofy things. I just,
I just like it.
you know what? I was probably distracted
Yeah.
because at this point, you know what I'm distracted by?
What?
Tears in your eyes.
No.
Oh.
The next part of the movie? Is that
The
what you're trying to...
Illogical waterfall?
No, their fucking feet. We see their feet, and they're like full on human
They have
feet,
human
but
feet.
black because they're part of their body, I guess. But like, you know, their hands are in mitts and they're white, so it doesn't feel weird.
They're still
But their
human
feet-
hands in gloves.
I guess, but it feels weird. I don't know. I was like, whoa, those are just like straight up feet.
Yeah,
I don't know. It weirded me out.
I can understand that.
I think they showed it sooner, though. I think they showed that at the beginning transformation at the very beginning of the
Yeah.
movie as well.
Yeah, but you don't notice
Sure,
them
but it
because
was
you're
quick
caught up.
and you're not on it. This
Yeah.
they're like barefoot through this whole bit, and I'm like, those are some
Disney,
crazy feet.
are you
I
listening?
can't believe their feet
Don't-
look like this.
Don't put your most like powerful moment of your movie if you're going to show feet to Sam.
I don't know. I just wasn't. You've never seen their feet before. I'm like, I obviously am just going to be distracted by it. If I knew that their feet looked like that, maybe I wouldn't have been so fixated on it.
Wow. Anyways, the perfect cast saves the day, of course, and it's a great full circle moment, but it's not over yet, which I like this part of the movie a lot because they're like, well, let's get you to that concert and cut all of the bullshit between like trying to find themselves down from this canyon or getting to like actually be in California. Any of this, like they cut all of that stuff and they're at the show.
Yeah.
They're at the power line
All
show.
the stuff though that I'm like, this is gonna be impossible. How are you gonna do that? Doesn't matter.
No problem.
You know how they
that's
do
not
it?
an issue.
problem.
They show it like so, just a snippet of it.
Yeah.
They're both in music cases.
That's all. How'd they get in the
Is
music
that
cases?
how they
Don't
got
worry
in
about
in
it.
music cases?
Yeah.
Okay,
They
cool.
threw like I don't know, like a bass drum from like a drum set and like a guitar case, and Goofy and Max came out of it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's all it takes.
I know that this movie came before Emperor's New Groove, but I do love this gag, which they do in the Emperor's New Groove as well, where it's just like they skip over the travel, and it's
Yeah.
like, how'd you beat us here? And it's like, nah,
Doesn't matter.
don't worry about it.
Let's
there.
keep this movie going. I'm going to name the last character who fucks in this movie, which is Powerline.
An obvious choice.
Holy shit, that guy is good.
He is so. I understand why the kids are all messed up about this guy.
Yeah.
He is so cool. And it's, you know what? It's his final number happening. We missed the entire concert, but the final number is about to happen.
Oh my gosh.
And then Goofy and Max are snooping around, goofing around, trying to find a way in and like get on stage. And Goofy ends up on this platform, which is like full of electricity. And then he busts out. And now he's on stage. And Powerline's like, who the fuck is this guy? And then Max from the top, from the rafters, is like, Dad, do the perfect cast.
Sam, they came back again.
Turns out it's not just for fishing.
Sam, did you miss that part too?
I guess.
You just thought they all knew this dance, Sam?
I don't know what to tell you.
Sam, I don't know what to say except like I'm super disappointed in you, obviously. But you gotta rewatch it. Like what? And the perfect cast comes around again. That's amazing. So his dad's like goofing off, doing the perfect cast because again, it's a series of ridiculous movements. Works well for dance. And then Max, after like people are chasing him and stuff like that, ends up on stage now too. And they're all singing Eye to Eye, which is a banger of a song.
Yeah.
I think I forgot all of the other songs because of how good Eye to Eye is.
Eye to eye, eye to eye, eye to eye. Also, it's the letter I, the number
Number
two,
two.
and then I.
Yeah.
So reading this in the past like 10 years, not really revisiting this movie or knowing much about it, I just thought it was L to L. So
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh.
Stylized in lowercase.
I know. It wasn't until that recent punk Disney album came out
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
that it had a cover of this on it, and I was like, oh, that L2L song. And then I was listening to it and I was like, oh.
This is a good one, yeah.
That
If we listen to each
We
other's
banger.
Maybe love is the reason why.
To eye. And then you got like the large lady who's singing like crazy at the top of her lungs.
Yeah.
Eye to eye, eye to eye, eye to eye. An amazing performance. And guess what? You know, Max and Goofy are on stage. Max did exactly what he said he would do, which is like impossible.
Yeah.
Like this crazy lie he was
It's
able to
insane.
do.
I love it.
And
This movie's now a fantasy.
yeah. And Roxanne's looking from the party and she's like, oh my God, I've never had a bigger girl boner for anybody. Because guess what? My kind of boyfriend made it to the Powerline concert.
Oh my gosh. What a world.
Anyways, the show's over. They cut right back to the Goofy's house. And again, like a Simpsons-like joke where like the car is like falling apart.
Yeah.
Like it's like on its way out for sure. And they stop by Roxanne's house, which I love how they end the movie like this. Cause like it's a good lesson. Like Max could have got away with it. He did exactly what he said he would do. But it's like Goofy's like, no, man, like, you know, you got to own up to this. You got to like say
That's integrity,
exactly.
accountability.
Even though you did everything you said you would do in your lie, you didn't know you were going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
You knew you were lying, and
Yeah.
that's why you
Yeah.
need to tell her.
Got to tell your girl, man. Otherwise, she's not the one for you, which is like, he literally says that in his own words. And I'm like, good on you, Goofy. That's good parenting right there. So like Max talks to Roxanne, and Max is trying to tell her that, you know, he lied, and she's like, well, no, you didn't. You did the thing. And also, like, I've always liked you too. I've always liked your laugh. And then like Max does his hayuk laugh, and it's just like, it's a little cute thing that happens. Goofy's just so pleased at his son's game. Just like, wow, my son's got game. I'm gonna like pack it up here. And then in a classic Goofy moment, his car explodes.
Just his shoes are left.
His car explodes. He gets sent to the sky. He does the yell that Sam did at the beginning of this podcast. And he falls through the roof of Roxanne's roof and like face first. And he's just like, hi, I'm Goofy. I'm like Max's dad. And everyone's really chill about it. And that's the end of the movie.
Wow.
I know that
Nicely
wasn't
done.
short. I'm sorry,
That
but I had
was a very goofy summary.
to indulge in all of it.
Very well. Thank you, Tung. So glad that you got to do the summary for this.
Me too.
Today, and you really painted a picture for us. I guess I'll go straight into where this movie came from, or source material, as we call it. So it was written, or the screenplay rather, is by Jim Magan, Chris Matheson, and Brian Pimentel. And I read this on two different, because the first time I read it, I was like, this could be BS, but then I kind of saw it in a few spots, so I was like, oh, maybe this was a real thing. But the inspiration from the film came from Disney villain Jeffrey Katzenberg, but he was the chairman of Disney at the time, and he was feeling distant from his daughter and decided to go on a road trip with her that brought the two closer together or something. So, anyways,
Katzenberg.
I know, damn it, Katzenberg. But also, this movie, which I totally forgot about till reading, and now I was like, oh, now I feel like I actually have nostalgia for this. But I forgot that Goof Troop was like the TV show first, and Max is younger in that. I think I watched that a lot because I was looking at screen grabs and stuff from that, and I was like, oh, that's probably like why as a kid I was like, oh, I want to stay behind and watch this movie now, because I do think I watched the show a lot when I was little, and Goof Troop was like over, and then this movie came out as like a standalone spin-off movie 3 years after the show. I don't know if it's 3 years after the show or that I think it takes place 3 years after where the show ends. So they age Max up to be high school here, because I think he's like 11 in the show or something. So they kind of took that show property and were making a movie out of it. And then it became obviously the cult classic that it is. So I think that's kind of cool. But yeah, I'll toss it over to Brad for the...
Well, don't you want to know what people think of the movie?
Yeah, do you want to hear what we think?
Oh, is that first? I mean, I'm feeling like I know, but well, I guess I'll skip Tung.
All right.
I won't skip Tung.
No.
Tung.
No.
Tell us how you feel, Tung,
wanna-
in case we didn't know.
If it wasn't obvious, everyone, I adore this movie, and of course, I have like nostalgia glasses on it. But you know what's the thing is, like, going back to Disney Homies and watching all of these direct to DVD, direct to video movies. It's like a lot of these movies are still good in their own way, but they don't hold up the same way of my memory. You know, thinking of like even Aladdin King of Thieves. Aladdin King of Thieves is a really good direct-to-video movie, but I remember loving it as a kid. You know what I mean? But like Goofy movie to me was like on another level, and I was a little scared going back to it, but I was also very confident I would love it. And with that all said, it's like it didn't let me down. I watched it and I was just like, this movie is tightly paced. It has really good timeless gags, which is something I always appreciate in a movie, where it's just like it doesn't date itself by like, let's even say like the Robin Williams impressions that he does in like King of Thieves. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, here's like a bunch of references that unless you were born in that time, then you don't really know what they are. In the Goofy movie, it's just like gags that anybody can understand, but also tells like a really good story to go on top of it, with like a father-son relationship, and the way they handle that whole like dynamic is really surprisingly thoughtful for a Goofy movie. You know, it is very goofy, but it's also very smart and deliberate on how they portray like life lessons that they can impart on their characters and things like that. I think the music's really good in the movie, and like again, another testament to like how good it is compared to the rest of the direct-to-video music that we've gotten, which is like, oh, this song might be good, this song might be good, and then the rest are bad. For me, a Goofy movie has like all the songs are good. There are some that are like even more memorable, like all of the Powerline songs are like obviously like, whoa, you're jacked up right now. But like I think all of the songs are actually really good. And yeah, I can go on, but I don't want to like bore the audience. I've just been speaking for the last hour, but I will say like this movie still holds up in my heart. I will say I still believe it's as good as the golden age of Disney. I think it's as good as Aladdin for me, as good as Little Mermaid, as good as Mulan. Like for me, I don't know. I maybe I'm crazy, but I would consider it a top 5 Disney movie, period. Whether it's direct to VHS or part of the theatrical releases. I just think it's that fun. I'm adding a lot of nostalgia to it, obviously, but I do think it's just a really good time.
Yeah. Bradley.
Very heartfelt. Yeah, I like this movie. It's good. And like I said, even I feel like it doesn't really feel like necessarily a Disney feature to me, but it does remind me of like All Dogs Go to Heaven and like more Bluth style animation, which isn't bad, of course, but I have a lot of nostalgia for that type of look as well, and I feel like I see that look in this. So I think it was really good. The story is really heartfelt, and like Max is so cool. He's less of a bad boy than Bart Simpson, but he's got that like kind of
I was gonna say Bart Simpson vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got the red shirt, and he's got these like Bart Simpson vibes. He's kind of like a skater kid. Yeah. So he's like really cool, and especially I was probably around that age when like this came out. So like obviously that hit me really well. And Goofy is like a very well-rounded character. I think it was Tung, you were saying that like in all the other stuff, like we don't really get to see Goofy in his element. He's always like the silly, goofy character. Whereas here he has like a lot more personality and depth to him, which is really nice to see. And especially in contrasting him with Pete and seeing like that dynamic and how he just like he cares for his kids so much, and like he has so much faith in his child as well, versus like Pete, who's just like, no, it's your kid, not your friend. Like you gotta like blah blah. Whereas Goofy's just like, I like Max, he's a good kid, and blah blah and all that. So there's a lot of heartfelt stuff in there, which I like. Music's really good. Some really cool action stuff, some really cool shots. Yeah, Powerline's cool. I have fond memories. I give it a 2 thumbs up. It was good. It was good. I would watch it again. I would.
You said it was 95, right? Like I'm thinking about the other direct to VHS movies. Like this movie felt like some of the shots in this movie and some of the animation, even like how Powerline moved. I'm like, holy shit! Like
I feel like they went for it.
And there's like some first person stuff as well that happens at the very beginning of the movie and like the dream sequences. And I'm like, wow, this is like really, they're going for it in a way that like now that we have the reference point of all the other home video stuff that we've watched, I'm like, this looks pretty fucking good. 95, that's crazy.
95 is also pretty early though. Like I feel like I was reading somewhere that it was like happening along the same time as them doing like The Lion King. They were like, oh yeah, we didn't have our best animators on Goofy movie obviously because they were off doing The Lion King and stuff. It's like, yeah, obviously, okay. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I assumed I would. I think it really benefits from not being a sequel to anything, even though it's kind of a sequel to the TV show. But I think because it's not a sequel to anything, it's not beholden to any specific themes or character. Like, obviously Goofy and his family, but like, I mean, they're the ones we're here to follow or whatever. But there's no like there's no Olafs. There's no, we have to get these guys screen time. There's none of that bullshit, like weighing it down, or like Yago. It doesn't all of a sudden become Yago's story, you know? So I think in that regard that it's a really like good standalone movie. I think of the ones we've revisited, I would agree it's definitely stronger. But I think because of the, like Tung kind of touched on, like universal themes that just age well because it's not really stuck in place. I would say it's as good as Lion King 2 though, because Lion King 2 I think also has really good music and animation in it. So like I feel like both of those two stood out to me in this whole thing because I think the animation, Lion King 1.5's animation was also like quite good. I think Goofy was the one. Yeah. And so the only thing, and I was going to save this for animation angle, but I feel like it kind of like lumps into like just talking about it as a Disney homey movie as well, is everyone's animated really good. And I do think it's all really well. And this is not a knock at anything, But Goofy, I think, is like the tell for me that it is a home video because Goofy in like, and again, we haven't done a lot of like feature quality Goofy shit, but when you have your like best animators on Goofy, he's insane to watch. And I feel like he was in Three Amigos or he was in something early on. But when you have feature people on Goofy, the Looney Tunes level, it's just so much fuller, and it is like his walks, the way he crosses his legs, like there is so much going on with Goofy a lot of the time that is insane. And I could see them trying some things here and there in this movie, and they got him. Like for sure it was like well animated Goofy, but I do feel like I was like, I'm noticing that this is not feature because of Goofy and how he doesn't feel the same as he does.
Could have been goofier.
He could have been goofier.
Yeah.
He could have been goofier.
It feels like they made him like
yeah.
more normal versus like Looney Toony.
Yeah,
like,
which
in all of
makes
his other
sense.
stuff,
Like
yeah.
for what they were doing with him as a dad in a Walmart, you wouldn't want him like being like super like twisty everywhere. But also I feel like that's where the like skill level of the animation in Goofy is like really like apparent, is like, oh my God, like how did you, I feel like we talked way back on one where they did like a slow-mo Goofy on a horse, and it was just like this mind-blowing thing to watch. Whereas like this, I'm like, okay, like all of this seems like doable. I feel like I watch everything like, could I do this? Like right now,
Yeah.
that's where I'm at with the TV level, because I am currently like doing a TV movie and I'm like, could I do this? I think I could do this. Like, and so for Goofy, I was like, yeah, I don't know that I could do the like crazy shit that Goofy does elsewhere, but I feel like I could manage this. But I had a really good time, and I did really like the music. Obviously, like you guys said, the Powerline stuff stood out a lot for the songs, but it did feel very nostalgic, even not having a crazy nostalgia for it, because I do feel like this movie is just so 90s coded with the band, like the boy band stuff and like Summer Break and just everything about it. I was like, yeah, of course this would feel nostalgic like to me growing up when we did and stuff. So I did really enjoy it, and I would watch it again. I think it's a cute father-son type thing. So A+. Laura.
Better than Lion King.
Okay, well.
Whoa, like the original Lion King?
Oh yeah, Miles.
she's just
Miles.
She's just trolling us now.
I thought it was definitely the best direct to home video Disney movie that we've watched, and I think we've watched any competitors in that category. I was really, really impressed. I thought the relationship between Max and his dad felt so real, and the heart of the movie like felt really, really like, I know they're dogs, but it felt really human. And I was kind of feeling it, like Tung said, from both angles of seeing Max's perspective as well as Goofy's. But I think even like not having had those relationships or like a relationship like this with my parents. Well, actually, no, my parents did embarrass me a lot, but I feel like the sentiments in it are like quite universal, and it's very easy. I think both characters are so relatable that it's very easy to kind of empathize with them on both sides of the coin. So I thought it was really like quite a beautiful story for a Disney film. There's so many like father and son or like father and daughter, weirdly not many mother and daughter relationships in Disney movies, but yeah, and that one's so realistic. But this one felt like among the most real, and I think it's because like even though it's sort of like this grand scale, if they're going on like this big road trip across the whole country, it is a really small story, and I think I especially liked that it was really small cast in this movie, like the central characters. Very easy to follow and kind of know where we're at with everyone. And it also felt like quite different from any character representation we've seen with other Disney movies. Like they didn't feel archetypal or anything like that. The music was amazing. Like Tung said, like there's some songs that don't hit as hard as others, but I think that's sort of like because they chose to go with different styles, and you're not going to compete with like the Eye to Eye and what was it?
Stand Out,
yeah,
above the crowd.
So I was really into those. I also really like this movie as sort of emblematic of 90s culture. Like I don't think there's a lot of 90s like media that you can point to and you're like, oh yeah, like that's such a great thing, and also it's so 90s. Like so much of what we think of when we think of the 90s is like very cringe. And not to say like that Disney movies are like other Disney movies from the 90s are cringe. It's just like they're not representative of the time in the way that this movie is. So I
think
really
even the
liked it for that.
portrayal of women was very 90s.
All
the
sure, yeah.
Oh my
over
gosh,
sexualized
yeah,
to skinny high
absolutely.
school girls.
Totally true. Yeah.
Very sexy, very confusing for me as a child.
I can only
I
imagine.
was being awakened for sure by the movie.
Yeah. And yeah, there's some other elements that I really like, but I'm actually going to save those for hot takes.
Whoa.
Do we know how long this movie was?
It's like an hour 20.
Flew
I was
by.
gonna say it's pretty tight. Like
Flew by.
It just goes. It doesn't waste time, you know. Like, and I love, like again, like they just skip right to the Powerline concert after they have their nice father son moment. It's like, yeah, we don't need the rest of that bullshit. Let's go to Powerline. I like that.
It does feel like it wraps up quickly, but yeah, it like clips along at a good pace.
Which is why I feel like harkening back to my story in the beginning where I was like, I gotta stay and watch this movie. I thought I had so much movie left and my parents were leaving because I think I was like near the end. Like they were like the waterfall bit and shit. I'm pretty sure that's why I was like, I can't leave. They're like in a waterfall. Like this is crazy. But the movie wraps up quite quickly.
Quite quickly.
Yeah.
Quite quickly. So then I was like, oh fuck, like now I'm home alone.
Yeah, it's like 10 minutes after the
yeah,
waterfall.
yeah. It's so
The
it's
waterfall
insane.
out of the bottom of a canyon.
Yeah.
No, the top of the cane.
Yeah. Brad,
Yes.
over to you for some how you do.
Some Disney how you do's.
Yeah.
Not I feel like some of the stuff has been covered already. A lot of what I found is kind of just like Easter eggs in a way.
Lots of Little Mermaid.
Yeah, that one's a given for sure. So, you know the moment where it's very early, it's like the first song, and Max is like going to school and he sees Roxanne in the record shop and they're looking at it. So in the window, you can see the Aladdin soundtrack. So it's
cool.
fun. Powerline, his costume was inspired by Devo. I feel like that's his like little suit thing.
Who's Devo?
They're a band.
Whip it good.
Okay.
Whip it.
I know that song.
Whip it good.
Don't they have funny
Yeah,
hats?
that's Devo.
Yeah, they also
Yeah.
have the funny hats.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just know them for the hats.
Yeah, but they wear like the radioactive type suits.
Do they
I
have
guess.
the cool shades that Powerline has? Like the basically like ski goggles almost?
Back in style 30 years later.
I think they have glasses. Maybe
Okay.
one of them does.
God, I gotta go as
Not quite the same.
Powerline for Halloween one year.
Oh, that'd be dope.
Freaking awesome.
Tongue. You're not getting any more Halloween costumes.
Come on, Laura. Be Powerline with me.
So yeah, his costume apparently inspired by Devo. So his character in general is a combination of, and I mean, Michael Jackson is obvious.
Obvious.
I feel like obviously Prince is in there as well.
I can see that.
And Bobby Brown. I don't think I know Bobby Brown.
Or you know
Tina
Bobby
Turner's
Yeah,
husband.
Tina Turner.
Oh,
Or was
okay.
it Whitney Houston?
Well,
Oh,
apparently
sorry,
he was
yes,
fired
Whitney
from
Houston.
this. I forget why, but
Bobby
some
Brown was?
sketchy, some sketchy stuff came up that Disney was like, get out of here. And then they hired the guy that actually did the voice, Tevin Campbell.
Oh, Bobby Brown was supposed to do the voice?
Yeah, he was supposed to do the voice.
Oh,
Well, this other guy freaking nailed
Tevin
it.
Campbell.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
amazing
yeah.
he wasn't a bigger star.
So Mickey Mouse, I think Tung mentioned the cameo with Donald Duck on the road, but there's two more, well, more than two actually, but there's like minimum two more Mickey Mouse cameos.
Oh.
When Max is doing the concert at the school, and he's like swinging around and you see the audience, Mickey Mouse is in the audience at his school. And then at the Powerline concert at the end, Mickey Mouse is in that audience.
Get out of town.
I know.
Mickey Mouse likes Powerline. You heard it here
Yeah,
first.
yeah.
Exactly. And then there's a bunch of like random Mickey Mouse shapes, heads like throughout. There's like a balloon in the highway stuff, and it's all over the place.
Hidden Mickeys.
Hidden Mickeys. As Sam mentioned, movie is a spin-off from Goof Troop. A little fun fact is in Goof Troop, they live in Spoonerville. And using the map in this movie, you could say that Spoonerville is in or around Columbus, Ohio. based on where the map starts. So there you go.
All right.
It's not a real city, though. Listeners at home, don't worry.
If it was, it would probably be one of those cities that has since been transformed into like a total tourist trap. That's just, you go there and you're in the goofy version of Spoonerville.
That would be awesome.
That'd be amazing.
So this movie was directed by Kevin Lima, and he actually did a voice in this movie. He was Lester, the possum, the guy in the costume.
Nice.
Who's your
is pretty
favorite
fun.
possum?
Yeah. Looks like you need a hug.
Did you read what else he goes on to direct?
Did he do
No.
Emperor's New Groove?
No, he didn't. But he goes on to direct Tarzan and Enchanted.
Tarzan.
Oh, well.
Oh, Enchanted. Get out of town.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Yeah.
Disenchanted, though.
And 102 Dalmatians.
Yeah, I
Live
didn't
action.
feel that I had to note that one.
Sam loves live action animated movies, listeners at home, for those that don't know.
And don't forget to check out Snow White in theaters now.
Laura, cut this.
I want to see it, Sam.
Yeah, I think that's all the random little trivias I have. Not too many how you do's for this one,
right,
but there
all
you go.
Yeah, any animation angles?
Nope, not really much. But I will say most of what I had was, we covered it, was like shots in the movie.
Yeah.
And the animation style in general. Like I said, obviously it harkens back to older Disney, but yeah, there's something about it that just felt a little more Don Bluth-y to me. But the
I think it's the
animation was
scope
really
of the
good.
story, like you were saying, it does feel we're not used to these like smaller scale
Maybe.
high school dad,
I think it was also like the car on the highway, the way it was moving and animated and like lifts up, and
Yeah.
like I know Disney does that stuff, but I don't know, there was just something in the back of my head that was tingling Don Bluth. But there some of the shots, again, we went over them, but I noticed right away, again, the record shop when he was like walking along that and he has his reflection, because I've been doing reflections in a mirror on an episode that I'm working on lately. And it's such a pain in the ass to do reflections. You have to animate everything twice. But they did it great. It like looked dead on. I was like, man, that's such a pain in the ass. And this is a direct to DVD thing. But then they lean it like it's part of the story that it was there. And then the other shots that really stood out to me early on was when he's doing his Powerline concert at the school, and it's like you can see all of the audience in his glasses, and Roxanne is like front and center in his glasses, and they go back to that shot like multiple times, and I thought that was really cool.
Because that's all he sees, man.
Yeah.
This is all for her. Instead of asking her out like a normal kid, I'm going to do a Powerline concert for her.
This is what normal kids do.
Dude, when I was like, oh my God, I think I got the hots for Max right now. It's like when he like is on the rope and he like goes right up to Roxanne's face in the Powerline thing and he like whispers something to her in like as a lyric. I forget exactly what it was, but he like mouths this word to her and she's like, oh my God. Oh my God, this is amazing.
You're like, what did he say?
It was a lyric to the
Yeah.
song, but it was like very sexy. And I'm like, Jesus, this
Tongue's
kid's
just like
great
smash.
now. Yeah, it's like, I'm like, I should have done this when I was in grade 9. Jesus.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There's a lot of really cool animation things. Like the water, I noticed, I don't know how they did the water, but it almost looked painted, like they animated the water with gouache or something, which was pretty cool. And yeah, I thought it was a really well done movie.
You know what's interesting? I just thought of this as we were talking about it as a movie, and obviously it's a movie, because I was thinking about the studios that did it, and they sent some to Disney Australia, or their Australia branch, and their whatever other branches, and then Disney Toons did help with some as well. So it's kind of all over the place. But I was just thinking about it, and I'm like, this is actually a really interesting thing, because a lot of the other movies we kind of compare to the TV shows where we're like, oh, it's done by the TV studio, that's why it's lesser, it's done by this. But it's interesting because this one was a TV show, but now it's a movie, so it's like this middle ground, which is again what I'm kind of working in currently too, where it's like a TV show but it's a movie, so it's like still it's in this hybrid area. And
You can't suffer by comparison.
yeah, it's got to be elevated from the show, but not elevated enough that it's a theatrical movie. So it's like this mid ground. And I think this movie does that because I do think, and that's maybe where it feels better than the other ones we've watched. I don't know, because it is like this other new kind of tier, even though the other ones are definitely movies. But this one I was just thinking because Goof Troop, I Googled Goof Troop. And Goofy looks weird in it. Like he's got a different model and it's not as cute. Like Goofy looks better. As much as I was like, oh, his animation, like whatever, but he looks better in this movie. Like Goofy looks much better in this movie than he does in Goof Troop. In Goof Troop, he's got like smaller pupils and like it's just a weirder face. And I'm like, that's not our Goof. This movie is our Goof.
Hashtag not my Goof.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say what I think also helps this movie compared to a lot of the direct-to-home videos that we watched is like this movie feels like a cartoon. Like it is so cartoony. Yeah. The way things are animated, like I was saying, the car, it's like bouncing along. It goes on two legs. Like it's a gag movie versus all the other ones where it's like more grounded in reality and there are cartoony moments, but like I feel like the fact that they get to lean into the gags and the cartoon.
It's like Emperor's
really
New Groove-ish, like the way that's cartoonish. Like this is also this world is like it's not a real world. They're gonna do some funny stuff and it's just like a piano's gonna drop on someone.
Yeah.
Yay.
It's almost like Roger Rabbit-y in like the way things are like squishy and alive and stuff can bounce and Goofy can be exploded and
Looney Tunes, Space Jam even.
But I think that's even just like, again, like we haven't done a lot with Mickey and the gang. Like that's what they're there for. They are the Looney Tunes. Yeah, like they are they are Disney's Bugs Bunny. Like those are the cartoon characters. So yeah, this is like a movie we get to be in with cartoon characters versus like everyone having to be so like life. They're just like lions. They're real people. They're whatever, you know, like these are not that. These are you're right.
They're cartoon
this
characters.
is a cartoon movie.
And it's not like Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty or whatever. It's like these are cartoon characters through and through.
You can do gags. You can do fun things.
Speaking of gags, one throwaway gag that we didn't touch on that cracks me up is when they're at the hotel, the Little Mermaid hotel, and Goofy's in the hot tub, and Pete comes and gets in, and he like just splashes down, and all this water comes out. And he's like, "They're always putting too much water in these things."
Oh, Pete.
I was just thinking of the Easter eggs because you were talking about how there's a bunch of like Little Mermaid and this and that. There was one shot in this that reminded me of Oliver and Company because like they're like going through like a worker pipe and it's like moving, and I was like, this feels very like something Roger would do.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that. All right. With that, I'll be quick in our 5-star, 1-star. So, from Mark Price, it is a masterclass in cinema. And the movie taught me the true value of relationships and taught me to be a man. In fact, the power of this movie transformed my sweaty prepubescent 12-year-old body into a jacked, steamy, mature 27-year-old man who understands life in a new way. Since watching this movie, I have gone on to do great things, such as marrying ex-President Barack Obama, out-ordering Pizza the Hut, solving racism, ending world hunger through 4 versus 4, becoming the official man on the moon, curing every disease known to man, and finding the secret to the cane sauce. It is my great hope that more lost souls will give their life to the changing power of this movie. May the goof be with you.
What's cane sauce?
I don't know.
It sounds important.
It's got to be important. It's lumped in the same as solving racism and curing diseases known to man.
And marrying Obama.
And marrying Obama.
Who is
I don't know.
Already married.
Yeah.
Wow, this movie does
Hats
a lot.
off to you, Mark Price. I mean, everyone, 5 stars. Ari McNally. Honestly, a childhood favorite that still touches today, with an amazing soundtrack, witty writing, and wonderful performances, an emotional, realistic, and charming coming-of-age tale from one of Disney's most unlikely characters. It's funny, but also very endearing, with surprising, valuable grown-up messages amongst classic Disney hijinks. Utter bliss to watch over and over again.
Utter bliss.
5 stars.
Look at that.
And now, guys, it's really telling. No 1 stars.
Damn straight.
No 1 stars.
Damn straight.
No 1 stars.
2 stars? 3 stars? What do we got here?
I didn't even bother.
Only 5.
I was
What's
like,
the point?
5 star, 1 star. the game isn't 2-star, 3-star, 4-star.
When Brad and I had to like look for stuff, it was
Yeah.
it was
We had to
like
go to
That was on
Wikipedia.
you. Nobody made you do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Nobody made you do that.
You're right. Brad just sent a power line pic in the Zoom chat just
Love it.
now. God, he's cool.
Yeah.
You said you wanted a costume. There you go.
Yeah, he's
Don't
pretty
encourage
cool.
him.
He's so
Brad.
cool. So cool.
Please.
Well, that brings us to
Hot
Hot
takes.
brought to you.
Brought to you by the car cigarette lighter that heats the soup.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is.
good,
That's
good,
it.
good.
Yep.
The high dad
Yep.
soup. I'm sorry. The
High
high dad.
dad.
soup.
Hi, Dad soup.
Ta-da.
Hi, Dad soup. Oh, stop. Okay, Laura, take us away.
Hot takes. Surprising number of nuns in this movie.
I also wrote that. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, this
Which
was-
also feels 90s.
And the
in a
same
way.
nuns every time.
Yeah, this was probably right after Sister Act. Also, I feel like this was like what representation looked like in 1995. It was like, oh, you know what? We need some diversity in this movie. Let's get some nuns in here. And that's
It's
it.
true.
Yeah.
It's wild. Tongue.
I literally just recorded a podcast on top 5 dance moves, and I regret not nominating the
Yeah.
perfect cast.
Missed opportunity.
Oh, that's a perfect dance move. Anyways.
It's rough. Bradley.
It's a throwaway moment in the movie, but when Max is like running home after getting his date and he runs through that person's house,
Yeah.
it made me realize that movies made me think I'd be running through other people's houses a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or yards at least.
And I never really did it that much, so
No.
I'm a little disappointed.
It is disappointing.
Hey, it's never too late.
You
Never
can
too late.
run into people's yards while singing and being the coolest motherfucker on the block.
Yeah. I think if movies have taught us anything, it's that as long as you're singing and dancing while you're trespassing, no one will care.
That
very
seems
true.
to be it, yeah.
Very true. I was just going to say that while watching, I forget the name of the musical number, but I'm sure you guys could tell me when they're on the highway.
On the open road?
Yeah.
Sure. La La Land stole their opening number from this bit.
I thought the same thing.
That's hilarious. Yeah,
good.
except for they actually get to move in traffic in the Goofy movie, not in La La Land.
Yeah, that does seem a little more enjoyable, but, Laura?
Hot question. Is Goofy's name Goofy Goof?
Yes.
Or is Goofy a nickname that derives from his last name? And if so, what is his first name?
Yeah. Did they say his name, like Max's last name was Goof at the end? I can't remember.
Yes.
They do refer to him as Mr. Goof.
Mr. Goof.
Yeah.
Mr. Goof, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And even when the kids are making fun of Max at the beginning of the movie, he's like, oh, look, it's the Goof.
Yeah.
And you're like, you just call him by his last name? Or is that like an insult right now? It's, yeah.
Yeah.
George
Guys,
G.
I was just going to read that. I was like,
Wait, say that again. Say that again.
Oh.
You go, Sam.
man, okay. In the 1950s, he played a character, and his name was actually George G. Geef. Geef? Geef.
Oh,
Yeah.
Geef? Geef.
George G. Geef?
Then why do they call him Goof? And what is the G in the middle for?
Well, sources
Just
from the
raising more
Goof Troop
questions.
continuity give the character's full name as G.G. Goofy with air marks, Goof. Likely in reference to the 1950s name. So I don't know if
Huh.
I don't know. This has been very confusing. Goofy's full name has variously been given as George Geef. Ew.
I don't like
GG.
this. I'm
I'm
gonna choose to ignore that, and I'm gonna.
Listeners, I'm so sorry for bringing this up.
I think his name in this movie is Goofy Goof, and that is somehow less weird than
Oh.
the one that Sam wrote.
I just found another one that is from the 30s, and Goofy's original name then was Dippy Dog.
Yes.
DAWG.
I did know that.
That's such a poochy
Dippy
name.
Dog. Yeah. Oh my God. Wow. This is okay. That's enough for that. Back to Laura.
That was
Tongue.
me.
I only have a few, but I'll say that Goofy is like secretly like super strong and jacked. Like in the movie, he one arm like basically bicep curls Bigfoot from the fishing rod out of the lake because his other hand was on the like I think it was like on the video camera as well. So like, what's up with Goofy's like crazy strength in this movie? That's like 400 pounds.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Wild.
Yeah, I'm
Wow.
impressed.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Brad?
Better than Lava and Abava, we have Who Deserves a Hero's Trophy as we face each catastrophe.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It is
Nobody
better,
else
though.
They
but
did
you.
do that.
It is better because Goofy sings it. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh, yeah. We'll let it slide.
That's the thing.
Catastrophe.
Catastrophe.
Laura?
So when we were watching this movie and the principal tells Goofy that Max is like inciting gang violence and riots, bit of a red flag went off in my brain. So after the movie, I Googled, is Goofy black? Because this is very much like a stereotype that young black kids who get into trouble it's automatically assumed that they're going to grow up to be criminals. And I think everybody should Google this.
Oh, no.
Because there are some fascinating takes on the internet about like black representation in the Goofy movie and how like black kids growing up in the 90s actually saw like Max as someone that they could look up to.
Oh.
In particular, I felt like Powerline. I mean, like
Powerline's
Powerline's definitely black, but I mean, they're dogs, right? Like I mean, Pete and Peach are cats, but they're all creatures. Like in theory, they don't have races, but there's definitely like representation pieces. And in some ways you could say that like they were being progressive with the way they brought that up and then kind of like dispelled that myth within the movie. But I don't think there was any intention to it at the time. I don't think Disney realized what they were doing at the time. But there's some really interesting articles about how like it was actually like embraced by many black kids because there wasn't a lot of representation in cartoons or otherwise, especially such positive representation.
I actually read this was just like a tweet, like not an article or anything, but I read it a few weeks ago. It like popped up. And then when I was looking up stuff for this movie again, it popped up again. And I was like, oh, this again. But it was like somebody talking about, they were talking about the sequel, an extremely goofy movie, but apparently they were watching it with their son and their son was like, Mom, like, is this about us? Like, is this black people? And like the parent was like, you know, like lots of stuff is about us actually. So like, yes, they take like so much like of black culture and like put it in. I haven't seen an extremely goofy movie, I don't think, but it was just like kind of interesting to read that too, where it's like, yeah, like a lot of people identify with Goofy and the Goof movies or whatever.
Can I just say something to go on top of extremely goofy movie? I actually have never seen extremely goofy movie. I just Googled this. First of all, a Goofy movie itself, 59% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Crime.
Boo. But an extremely goofy movie, which I thought in my head, people always were like, yeah, extremely goofy movie is not a good sequel. It got 63 on Rotten Tomatoes. So technically, apparently to critics, it's better than a Goofy movie. That's
all
crazy
right.
to me. Yeah, that's where I ended up on it. I was like, what? Okay.
Are we doing a victory lap? Extremely goofy movie?
What? I don't know. Oh my gosh. That's, I didn't know that. Yeah, interesting stuff.
Chung, do you want to rattle off whatever you've got left?
Yeah, do you have a lot left, Laura, Brad?
one.
I don't have that many.
No, I'm done.
Okay, I have, who's Goofy's wife, you think?
So here's the thing. I don't think about it. And that's actually one thing that I really love about this movie is that in a time where nuclear families were like so the norm, and I feel like it was always explained why a parent was absent, especially if it was a mother, like because the mothers were always with their children. It's like, it's really refreshing to have a movie about a father and son with no like need to justify why there's no mother in the picture.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Laura only just laughed just now because Sam sent a picture of Goofy being saved with the perfect cast in the movie. Is that what it is? and his feet. And his feet.
His very human
It's
feet.
about his feet. That is the point, not the perfect cast.
Well, I honestly, you sent it and I didn't. The feet is just part of him. It's just part of him for me. Yeah, that doesn't bother me, these pictures of his feet.
All right.
I'll do one more because I think Laura's is more important. Actually, no, you do yours and I'll do.
I want to end on mine.
Okay. Here's the one I have is if you had tickets for one show and one show only between Powerline and Four Town, who would you go to?
I think I'd go to Powerline.
Yeah, I think I'd go to Powerline.
I gravitated to Powerline right away.
I don't know if it's recency bias, but I do think Powerline would be pretty fucking fun.
Yeah.
He comes up in a globe and it like explodes in electricity.
Yeah.
Oh, what year was Turning Red set in?
I think it was set in the 90s as well.
Yeah, because I feel like maybe it was 2001 because I think we were like just teenagers.
Oh,
like
maybe.
we were the same
Yeah.
age. And I feel like going to concerts earlier would have been more fun. Like today we're just like cattle being shepherded into these stadiums or herded into these stadiums rather. But back in the 90s, they probably didn't have seats as packed. And like most of the people there were like real fans and not just there to get the content for the gram. I feel like a mid 90s concert would have been where it was.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Powerline. Seems like fun. And everybody loves Powerline. I know everyone loves Four Town, but everybody loves Powerline.
Yeah. And he's cool with people just coming up on stage and dancing with him.
Not even a problem. Not even
Not
a
a
problem.
problem. And he learns the move like that. Like that is talent. That is raw talent.
If you lift
true.
each other's lives.
Sam?
Laura. Okay, I'll let you end with your thing. Mine isn't a hot take or a hot question. I just forgot to bring it up anywhere else. And I don't even know what I guess it's kind of a did you know straggler, but did any of you guys watch? I know Brad, you did. Atlanta.
I know what that show is.
The Donald Glover show?
Yeah.
The Donald Glover show.
No.
So I read that the 8th episode of Atlanta's 4th season in 2022, titled The Goof Who Sat by the Door, was a mockumentary about making of this film. Is that true?
I didn't
Is
see
there an
that.
episode about? Yeah, I'm like, what is this show?
You gotta watch Atlanta.
Need to watch it now. I've heard it's good.
Yeah,
This is good. Yeah.
we
I
watched
didn't
like
make it
the
to the
first
fourth
season. It
but
just
yeah.
doesn't seem like. But now I know you told me it gets
Oh.
off the rails and goes like crazy later. But I'm like, first season is pretty like grounded in
Yeah.
what is going on. So reading this, I was like, what the fuck?
They get into some crazy bottle episodes in the second season.
Yeah,
fun.
I'm like
All right.
community level shit. All right, Laura.
Sam?
Mm.
Brad?
Oh God.
Mary fuck kill.
Tongue?
Oh boy.
Oh no.
I think this was the perfect cast. Thank you.
Great
my
delivery.
God.
You guys
although
were nervous.
You should have said
We
it with
were.
goofy
I thought it was going to
voice.
be like some kind of Powerline Four Town Mary fuck kill situation.
We all know we'd want to fuck, marry, and no, I would just want to fuck and marry Powerline.
Yeah.
Kill whoever else is there. Laura, you want to say the perfect cast again, but in your goof voice?
I don't have a goof voice.
Aw. The perfect cast.
It's
pretty good.
That's pretty good. I
Yeah,
liked it.
thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
I just
wow.
want to end before Sam wraps things up on two notes. One thing is that Laura sent a thing. Actually, I'll let her read it. She sent a thing in our group chat today that I think perfectly encapsulates like this series, the direct to VHS
that
series.
tweet.
And
thread.
I wrote it here so you can
You want me
read
to read it?
You can read it. And I think it's perfect encapsulation of Disney homies.
Nobody understands the bond between a millennial and the mediocre movie their family just happened to own on VHS when they were 12 years old.
And there's no better tagline to Disney homies than I think.
That's it.
Because as much as I love the Goofy movie, like clearly critics are crazy and they didn't like this movie at all. But like,
Dummies.
it's so hard for me to not attach myself from my younger self to this movie because it was so pivotal to me. And it was just like in a world, I feel bad for kids these days. They don't get that anymore. Now their options are limitless, but we used to watch these movies so many times in a row because that's what we owned. That's what was available to us. Right.
I feel like I was going to say earlier when you were talking about that similar thing too. I was like, you're just lucky, like in that vein, that this one that you loved is actually a good movie. So when you go back to it, you're like, yeah. This was a good movie. Versus like some, like, I don't know. I was like, oh, I loved Aladdin too. Yeah, exactly. And now I go back to it, I'm like, oh, I love
my taste sucks.
Whereas this one, you don't have to be embarrassed about liking this one. It's actually great.
It's actually great. And like, I'll end on this for my other thought was like, I'm not trying to get things sappy or anything like, but I watch movies in like such different ways now with the incoming child that is on the way. So it's just like when I watch things now, when I see father-son relationships or parent relationships, I can't help but like put myself in those situations anymore and be like, Goofy has a point here. Or like, oh man, like, future years from now, I'm going to have, we might have a son like Max who's going to lash out at us. How are we going to handle this situation? Oh, I love how this like moment of Hi Dad Soup comes around and like that tender moment of them reconciling. It's all these moments. And I'm like, oh man, like now I have a new appreciation of the Goofy movie, a movie that I already loved. But now I get to love it all over again for a different reason. Now from like the perspective of Goofy, I think is like a beautiful thing and a gift.
Nice.
Well, sir, I'm gonna cry.
I'm sorry. I had to get it out.
Fine, you guys. It's fine. On that note, this is the end of Disney Homies Forever.
Yeah. Unless one day we open up the bag where we're not making any promises. We already said this was the last one, but maybe we'll
Listeners
do
at home,
Goofy one day.
Did we miss any goldies? Did we miss anything that is so good that the Disney dummies need to see it? And I need to. If you send us after some bullshit that is Pocahontas 2 or something stupid, we're not doing it.
Pinocchio 7, I'm wood again.
But if you
we will research. We will fact check you. So
if you say extremely goofy movie is actually really good, someone out there says that, then we will consider that. Because now that I looked it up,
I was like borderline gonna pitch it, but because I was like, this was so fun,
guys.
But
we need to wrap this up. There's a baby coming.
Right.
We need a break.
You're right.
I know.
So maybe down the line, but for now, you're right. Disney Homies is shut down for business for now.
It's in the vault.
Disney Homies is shut down. Disney Dummies, there's going to be quite a break as we've mentioned several times on this podcast now. An actual real life baby is coming. So listeners at home, the next journey that usually this is where we talk about what's coming next down the pipe.
Stuff. We do have stuff.
But we do. I know. That's what I was going to say. The next thing is Disney Reedies.
I think we'll do the Lion King thing first, the musical.
Oh, wait. Oh, this will release. Yeah, but this will release first.
This would release first.
A release order, right. Listeners at home, you psych, you get
Just
Disney PTs.
And then after that...
Stages.
And then after that is Disney Reedies, and that's where
I think we called it Disney Book Club, but I do like the idea of Disney Reedies.
Disney Reedies.
So there's still fun coming down for you. So stay tuned, and stay goofy.
Oh, perfect. We will do more movies at some point. We promise.
If we listen to each other,
we'll never be far apart.
And
maybe there's a reason why.
For the first time,
we're seeing eye to eye.
Perfect transition, Sam. Perfect transition. Wow.